I'd be remiss if I didn't remind you that it is Friday the 13th. And with that being said, a very special Friday the 13th segment, including NFL quarterbacks. Now, this is the first time I'm doing this, and I want to explain exactly what Friday the 13th NFL quarterback style is. I'm going to take 13 of the most scariest NFL quarterbacks and pair them up with some of the scariest, iconic serial killers, famous horror movies, scary icons. And we're going to pair each of the 13 scariest NFL quarterbacks with a specific iconic horror film, horror killer, serial killer type of person. Now, if you want to get in on this action, feel free to call in 518-690-0980, 518-690-0980. Absolutely had so much fun coming up with this idea. I really want to get you guys involved. So if you want to call in 518-690-0980, 518-690-0980. Also, hit us up on Twitter. Your thoughts. What player reminds you of what Friday the 13th themed type of killer? Feel free to hit us up on Twitter at WOFX980, at ZachFS980. Also, feel free to DM us on Facebook at Fox Sports 980, at Zach Harris Sports. Really cool themed idea. I would love to hear your guys' opinion. This is what I came up with. Tom Brady, the GOAT, has to go to one of my GOATs of serial killing, and that's Dexter Morgan. For those of you that watch the show Dexter, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The calm, cool, collected guy. Not many would suspect that he's a serial killer. Not many people suspect Tom Brady would be what he was. Drafted in the 6th round, coming out of Michigan. Couldn't even win the job at Michigan. Who's to say that he was going to kill the NFL the way he has 7 Super Bowls later? And then there was discussion. Bill Belichick, is he the genius behind the success, or is it Tom Brady? For those of you that watched Dexter, spoiler alert, was it Detective Dokes that was the serial killer, or was it somebody else? For those of you that watched Dexter, you know it was somebody else. So that's why I put Tom Brady with Dexter, because he's just quietly gotten away with it. And yeah, it does help when he has a tremendous team around him. You talk about his sister Deb and LaGuardia and everybody else that's been around him, and him being a blood splatter analysis has really led him to hone in on his victims. Same thing with Tom Brady. The way that he studies the game, his avocado ice cream, everything, the way that he dives into everything, and then the pieces that are around him now with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and O.J. Howard. O.J. Howard now moved on to the Buffalo Bills, but, with the amount of talent that he has around him, that's ultimately the team that helps him be that Dexter-type killer. Next on the list, Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, for me, is the Scream Killers, and I'll explain why. Before you get on my back, I'll explain why. Because if you ever watched the Scream movies, it was, spoiler alert, 2 guys who killed for fun. And they wanted to make a story out of it. They wanted to be the heroes, blah, blah, blah. Joe Burrow, growing up in the state of Ohio, wants to be the hero. He wants to be the hero for Ohio State. Didn't work out. Went to LSU, had some great success. Along the way of his great success, he met a guy named Ja'Marr Chase. Ja'Marr Chase is one of his best friends. Guess what? Scream. 2 killers. They're best friends. They want to be heroes. Joe Burrow, Ja'Marr Chase. Those are your Scream Killers. They are trying to make Ohio great once again, and they are trying to be the heroes to do it. Next on the list, Patrick Mahomes. And this was a tough one. I wanted to go a couple of ways, maybe Slim Reaper. I ended up going with Freddie. And because this is the type of guy, especially with Andy Reid designing an offense for Patrick Mahomes and the weapons around Patrick Mahomes, this is a guy that can make it very difficult for NFL defensive coordinators to sleep. It is that tough. And who attacks you in your sleep? Freddie. Nightmare on Elm Street. He attacks you in your sleep. And that's exactly what Patrick Mahomes does. He makes it very difficult for NFL defensive backs, NFL defensive coordinators, NFL defensive linemen, you name it. Makes it very difficult to sleep when they know that they're going to have to get up facing Patrick Mahomes. Next on this list, very intriguing. Derek Carr, I compared to the Zodiac Killer. Now, the Zodiac Killer, we've all watched the movies. We've all read about him. We've seen so much on who we thought the Zodiac Killer could be. You know, there's all those theories out there. It might be this person, might be that person. Derek Carr, the same exact way. He's so Jekyll and Hyde. That's another one. Zodiac type killer. He is a guy that you don't necessarily know what you're going to get. And just when you think you got Derek Carr figured out, he plays poorly. Just when you think you figure out that he might not be that great, he plays great. And that's exactly why I compared him to the Zodiac Killer, because you never knew what you were going to get with the Zodiac Killer. You had all these theories, all these ideas on who it could be, but you never quite figured out who he was. Same thing with Derek Carr. Next on the list, Aaron Rodgers. I put him as Jason Voorhees. And the reason I put him as Jason Voorhees is because Jason is a very scary guy. But at the end of the day, he's slightly overrated. Slightly overrated. But that does not mean you can overlook Jason. Same thing with Aaron Rodgers. He's a scary guy, uber talented, had some kills early in his career, won a Super Bowl, did a great job there. But ultimately, he's a tad overrated in my book. And that's why Aaron Rodgers, to me, is Jason Voorhees. Next on the list, Josh Allen. And I'm wearing my Josh Allen shirt right now as we speak on this Friday the 13th, comparing iconic legends of Friday the 13th with NFL quarterbacks. Josh Allen, Michael Myers. This kid is strong. He's tough. Nothing can get him down. Nothing can stop him. He's just going to keep coming. And just when you think you got him figured out, just when you think you can put Michael Myers away or Josh Allen away, he's going to come back stronger than ever. You know, he didn't have a lot of kills early on in his career. We didn't know if he was going to blossom into being the Josh Allen that he is today. And he did exactly that. Same thing with Michael Myers. Started off small, you know, took out his sister and his dad and everybody else at home and spent some time away, came back, and now he just haunts a town. Buffalo Bills. You got to love Josh Allen. Tough, talented. He's going to haunt every NFL team that he walks into to face. That's exactly what Michael Myers does. Michael Myers comes every Halloween. I'm telling you right now, Josh Allen comes every Sunday. Next on the list, Lamar Jackson. And I compared him to Leatherface because they're not tactical. They're not going to go outsmart you. They're not going to go crazy in their tactics. They know exactly who they are. Lamar Jackson's a runner. Leatherface is a chainsaw guy. Guess what? They're big bodies. They're strong. They're tough. They're physical. That's exactly what you get with Lamar Jackson. That's exactly what you get with Leatherface. They're not going to beat you with their technique or their tactics. They're just going to come at you, and they're going to keep coming at you till they get you down. Next on the list, and this one's these next two are a little unique. Matt Stafford, for me, is King Kong. Now, we all know the King Kong movie. You know, he lived on Kong Island, blah, blah, blah. He disturbed animals. He was very tough, very scary, but you weren't really afraid of him. You didn't know King Kong. You didn't care about King Kong. He was on Kong Island. Do whatever you want. Kill whatever animal you want. Blah, blah, blah. Well, he escapes to the big city. He's an empire. And all of a sudden, King Kong's a real threat. Matt Stafford with the Detroit Lions. He was in Kong Island. You didn't care really much about him. Then he comes to L.A. Just like King Kong came to the Empire State. And guess what? He takes off. You're scared of him. Sean McVay, Unleash the Beast. These guys that did some filming on Kong Island released the beast on New York City. And that's why Matt Stafford, in my eyes, is King Kong. Next on the list, Justin Herbert. This was a tough comparison for me. But ultimately, I came up, Justin Herbert is Ryan Reynolds in Amityville Horror. And if you watch the Amityville Horror with Ryan Reynolds, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Smart, quiet, handsome guy, but with the right direction, with the right voice, could be an absolute killer in the league. And that's exactly what's happening with Justin Herbert. He's got that great offensive, defensive mind in San Diego, in LA with the Chargers. Exactly what happened in Amityville. There was a voice inside Ryan Reynolds' head that made him do what he did and become a quiet but really feared person with the right voice in his head. And that's absolutely what Justin Herbert is. You know, handsome young kid, quiet, level-headed, but with the right voice in his head, he can be a threat in this league for a long time. Next on the list, Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson, in my eyes, is Chucky for the simple fact, you know, he's short, a little underrated, came out of college. Nobody expected him to be much, just like Chucky. He's just a doll, kick him to the side, blah, blah, blah. No, Chucky's relentless. He's going to keep scrambling around. He's going to find you. He's going to get you, exactly like Russell Wilson. Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray on this list is Leprechauns in the Hood. If you ever seen the movie Leprechauns in the Hood, you know that tough comparison, but kind of the fact that you had basically a Chucky knockoff. You know, it's kind of a funny movie, but you also feel scared. You also feel threatened, but it was also a funny movie. Same thing with Kyler Murray. You're scared of him a little bit, but at the end of the day, you know, he's just a cute little fella. He's not going to do much. Next on this list, Trevor Lawrence. And this is the one that I thought was really funny. I compared Trevor Lawrence to the girl from the Ring movie. So if you watch the Ring movie, you know, you watch the movie, whatever, you have 6 days to live, 3 days. It's been a while since I watched the Ring movie. Trevor Lawrence is stuck down there in Jacksonville. The media's not great. We're not going to hear a lot about Trevor Lawrence, but ultimately, he's the girl from the Ring because you watch him and you know he's coming every 7 days. So Sunday, he's coming. You know that. And that's why Trevor Lawrence is the girl from the Ring. Next on the list, Dak Prescott. I compared him to the It Clown, Pennywise. There is a lot of hype around him, but ultimately, he's a little overrated. You know, he does strike a little fear in you, but ultimately, you're not that worried about it. You're not that worried about Pennywise. You know, he mainly stays where he needs to be. He needs the circumstances to be right around him, just like Dak Prescott. And that's why Dak Prescott is Pennywise. I hope you're enjoying this Friday the 13th. If you hear this on the podcast, which you will be on the podcast, just check out the Zach Harris Sports on iHeart Radio. Download the free app. Search Zach Harris Sports if you missed any of the Friday the 13th quarterback style. And I would still like to hear from you on Twitter at WOFX980, at ZachFS980. Few ones that didn't make the quite make the cut, but I thought were funny anyways. Jimmy Garoppolo is Ted Bundy. And the reason I picked Ted Bundy for Jimmy Garoppolo is because he's the handsome guy. He's very well spoken. You wouldn't quite expect him to be a killer, but secretly he is that guy. You know, we talk about Jimmy Garoppolo. He's well spoken. He's the handsome guy, and you wouldn't expect him because his talent isn't otherworldly, but somehow, some way, he continues to come up big and get those wins, and they pile up, and he has a great win percentage. Just like Ted Bundy, you don't expect him to be much. He's a handsome guy. He's well with words, but guess what? He'll get you. Kirk Cousins, John Wayne Gacy. And this is the reason I chose John Wayne Gacy, because a lot of the media look at him as a clown, but Kirk Cousins is a killer. He does great things in the NFL that often get overlooked because of the way the media portrays him as a clown. Now, you may see John Wayne Gacy as just a clown, but guess what? He was more than that. Next on the list, last on the list, Sam Darnold. And this is the funny one that a buddy of mine from work texted me. Sam Darnold is the kid from Sixth Sense. And that's a knock on him from when he was with the New York Jets and all he did was see ghosts.